Uric Classic Whole Body Tonic is a dietary supplement, not a drug. Therefore, it is useful to affect the structure and/or function of your body in various ways, but it is not intended to and will not cure, mitigate, treat, or prevent any disease. Individual testimonials may not be everyone's experience and do not constitute scientific evidence. Uric Corporation does not make any drug or treatment claims for its product.
And greetings, everyone. Thank you for being on the call. I was just thinking tonight, we never kept track of how many calls we've done. That would be really something to know, because we've done a call every single Sunday since, holy cow, as far back as I can remember. They didn't have conference call phone systems like this when we first started with the JC Tonic. As a matter of fact, when my dad first commercialized the JC Tonic in 1943, well, for all you new folks, all this information is on many, many phone calls we've done, and we have a history that we did in several parts, which is also all included. It's all on previous emails, but new folks, of course, did not receive those emails. We will be putting that together in the new year as part of our website for the history, and it'll be a segment where you can read all about it. But just very quickly, I can tell you the 400-hour story in about 2 minutes to let you new folks know that my dad worked on this from about 1922 to probably 1940 to perfect his formula. It's a long story, and it's involved, and it's really great and interesting. But in 1943, he had been giving away product for years. People, first of all, who he chose to test it for him as he was trying to perfect it and make it better and make it into what it is today. And then afterwards, people who said they were starting to get good results, well, he gave it. And then at one point, well, he couldn't afford it anymore. In 1943, he started charging for it. So he first started to commercialize it in 1943. Well, it took off like at warp speed, and all of a sudden he found himself, he's got a business. So in 1945, he formed a company, and he called it Mattol Research Limited, and he started distributing it just as we're doing today, word of mouth, person to person, networking. He did not call it network marketing. He called it a business because people were demanding it. And I grew up as a boy in our home where he had started manufacturing. He took our playroom and he made it into his manufacturing place, and the garages were made into packaging and labeling and shipping and so on. And so I grew up with these wonderful herbs being percolated and the beautiful smell coming up through the house. And I saw people arriving at our home, backing into the garage, into the driveway, and loading up their cars, and trucks coming and going. And some of the cars had U.S. license plates because we were in Canada. So we've been doing this since that time, and he has some letters that were written to him. There was no email and texting and all that kind of stuff, so people wrote letters telling him what a miraculous product it was. I remember one letter, the person said they were taking 14 units of insulin a day, and now they're not taking any. Well, as you heard on our opening, there's a disclaimer. That disclaimer was written by a big law firm in Washington who has an FDA department, and they wrote it for us. They said this kind of a disclaimer will keep you in check and make sure that people don't make claims. And so we don't make claims. But you know what, folks? This is not a cure for anything. It was not for the diabetes fellow back in those days, and it is not for the people who have high sugar levels or diabetes today that are reporting that their sugar levels are down or their blood pressure's down or disappeared or it's normal, and it goes on and on and on. So these stories that you hear, like you will hear tonight and every Sunday, are very important for us to be able to have a library of all kinds of different stories for different health issues so we can share with other people, because the whole deal is if you get some kind of benefit, please help your neighbor. And pay it forward. Save a life, because that's what we've been doing. For those of you on the call who know about this, you probably have been implicated in saving lives as well. because this just downright saves lives. We have people who are way past the age of even working, and they're still working, and they're looking 20 years younger, and they don't go to the doctors, and they don't take medication, and their blood pressure is normal, and their sugar levels are normal, and they live regular lives just like everybody. I do. I mean, I still love my ice cream, but I don't overdo it. But, I balance out my sugar levels in my blood by taking another shot of JC. So everybody who has done this over all those years, what is it, 77 years now, for Pete's sakes? Holy cow. Do you know any product that's been around for that long? Saving lives? Well, any product that's been around, period. Maybe Kraft cheese, but that's about it. And it's still doing the same thing it did 70 years, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20 years ago. And we have folks who are involved in this mission of ours. And this is a mission. It's a health crusade. You can count on it. It's a health crusade. We need more people like all of you and all your friends and family to jump on the bandwagon and help save, first of all, America and then the rest of the world. Because if you look around you, it doesn't take very long for you to hear someone talk about their health woes, all their problems. They're taking all kinds of medication. Nothing's working. They feel badly. They are getting older faster than their time, and on and on and on. So tonight we have one guest in particular who is an old pal. He's been drinking this for, oh my good Lord, 20, 30 years. He's 83. And the reason I'm talking about him is because he called me the other day to wish me happy birthday, because our birthdays are a week or two apart. So he says, I'm calling you early for your birthday. And I said, I'll be calling you, Walt, for your birthday. But then he told me a story about the virus. And I said, holy cow, that's fantastic. I said, can you come to the call on Sunday and tell it? He said, I can't next Sunday. I said, let's record it and enlighten everybody. So he is one guest we have tonight, and I'm going to get him on in a second. And then we have the miracle of miracles. Now, we have a long, long time, one of the very first super ambassadors of health, Lenny, who had the most incredible health change that I had ever seen. I mean, he was a wreck. Everything. Nothing worked. And he tells his stories. You know, he went broke trying to find something to help. He tried medicine. He tried herbs. He tried botan. He tried everything. Nothing worked until he started the JC Tonic. So we're going to have him back again as a guest speaker to tell that story in full. Because for all the new people who have not heard it, let me tell you, you're going to sit up and take notice. Just like our other guests who are going to be on the call tonight, Bob and Kerie Jo, are going to tell you a story. This one is a miracle. I tell you, it's a flat-out miracle. Wait till you hear how ill he was, how many medications he was taking, and what the doctors said about how much time he has left to live. And he's going to be on the call tonight to tell you himself. This is going to be something. This one you have to fasten your seatbelt. So let me bring on Walt and listen to what he has to say. On the other side of that, I'll come back on and we'll get Bob on and Kerie Jo to relate what their miracle story is, okay? And of course, as you can tell, folks that are new on this call, I can go on and on and on with the stories and what this product has done for people, the world in general. And all I can ask is for your help to continue it, to push it forward, to pay it forward, to get as many people as you possibly can drinking it and save a life. Okay? Here we go. So, Walt, look, you and I are about the same age, and I want everybody to know how great you are still at your age. And it's important for people to understand that if they drink the JC Tonic on an ongoing basis, they too can stay young and stay out of the hospital. And, well, tell the story and just let her rip.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. And we are 2 weeks difference in our birthdays. I just thought I'd let you know on that.
Are you going to tell anybody how old we are, or are we going to keep that secret?
Oh, I thought we did.
No, we didn't, so we're going to have to tell them.
Well, you'll be 83 on Sunday, and I'll be 83 14 days after that.
There we are. Two old guys of 83 feeling young.
There you go. And looking young.
And you too, actually, Walt. Tell the folks, you've been on this a long time, and you really are younger. You're still working your business, and tell everybody.
Yeah, I will do that. Well, first of all, I'm going to talk about my little story. My granddaughter has a boyfriend, and he works in Whole Foods Market in California here. And anyway, they test him often because they're involved with a lot of people. And he tested positive. Well, they don't live together, but they associate quite a bit together. And anyway, my granddaughter and her mom and dad, they both went down to get tested. And it come back as the granddaughter and her dad, they both tested positive. And my daughter did not. She tested negative. And she's been taking the tonic for quite a few years.
For how many years?
Quite a few years. I don't know exactly what date she started, but I've been 15 years. And she takes it regularly. And anyway, she was negative. And, there's another thing, too, that when I gave blood a few weeks ago, it was a blood drive, and they had 140 people there. And they sent me a notice afterwards that they had drawn my blood, and my blood was negative. So anyway, I feel that my immune system is good. I haven't been sick. I don't take shots for
the regular flu.
The flu. Yeah, here I was trying to get it out. Anyway.
So you've never taken flu shots in your life?
I did back in the 90s. I only did it once, I think. And I haven't done it since then. And then I have not had the flu since then either. So,
you've been drinking the JC for how long now?
17 years. Now, I did take tonic before that, but it was the Matol.
Yeah.
And, but then Matol had problems, and they didn't have the good product like they should have, and well, you know all about that.
So you actually have been drinking with everything you've been drinking for longer than 17 years?
Yeah, I was actually back in 92 or 93, I guess it was, that I started. Yeah, by Bob.
Yep.
And anyway, he got me started on it, and I took it for a while, but then, like I said, it didn't seem to be the same, and so I stopped taking it, but then I started again in JC Tonic at 2003, and I've been taking it very regularly since then. So, and like I say, I feel good. I'm still working, and people can't believe how old I am, and they look at me and they think I'm in my 60s. So,
isn't that great? And you're still working every day?
Yep, every day. I'm in the swimming pool business. It's not an easy job, I don't have to exercise because I do a lot of exercise and working.
I'm sure you do a lot of bending and carrying and stuff like that. Look,
yeah,
I'm 83 too, and I work every day, and I really feel as if I'm at least 20 years younger, maybe sometimes even younger than that. But I actually have the energy and the ability of a much, much younger man, and I can easily tell that when I compare myself with 60-year-old people. They are not even as spry as I am.
Yeah. Well, I know that for a fact. My son-in-law, that he tested positive. He's, I think he's 65 now, 64 or 65, and he can barely move. He's got bad knees and everything, and he's in the pool business too, but he doesn't do as many pools as I do, and he talks to different people, and they have the same problem. And but I've tried to get him on the tonic, and it doesn't work. He don't believe in anybody else other than himself. So, but anyway, his wife takes it, and she feels good, and she works, and she's 58, going on 59 pretty soon. So that's the story.
So is he now that tested positive, and his wife, your daughter, is negative? Is anybody talking to him about the tonic, or is he more interested now, or not?
I feel that it's not worth it because I've talked to him. He's got a bottle from me, so I can't stand the taste of that stuff, And I said, well, at first it doesn't taste great, but it doesn't take that long to get used to it, So, but anyway, that's his story. And then my granddaughter, she's taken it, and then she says, "Oh, I can't afford to take it." So anyway,
isn't that sad? And with this virus going around, and kind of it could be a fluke. I mean, I'm not saying this is going to prevent somebody from getting the virus, but it could very well if you have a strong immune system, because the scientists say keep your immune system strong, and you won't get it, or you'll get it very, very weak if you do, and so on. It's the same with a regular flu. If you have a strong immune system, you get a few sniffles. If you have a weak immune system, you're in the hospital.
Right, exactly. So, but like I said, I haven't had any problems with my health since I started taking this back in 2003.
That is really, really great news, and I really appreciate.
I have had some problems. And this was work related. I tore my rotator cuff, and that was back in, I think, 10. Anyway, they did surgery on it, but I had no pain from it. And I thought, geez, that's weird. And I asked a guy at therapy after I had the surgery, and I said, geez, how come, I had this rotator cuff and I had no pain? He says, God, I've been doing this for over 5 years. And he said, you and there was one other person, I think it was a woman, that had the same deal. That maybe she took tonic too. I don't know.
Could be.
But anyway, I say that it was the tonic that, I didn't have the pain because, the good blood.
Well, the good blood, and also it keeps your systems and your joints. Remember, it affects positively and rebalances every single system, including the muscular skeleton system. So if all the bones and the joints and the ligaments are younger, then they'll repair faster or won't be as damaged when you do have that kind of a mishap. And so it gets back to the same thing of you actually have a younger body than your 83 years normally would have. And this is not a cure. This is keeping your body in good shape and actually getting it in better shape and regenerating it. And that's what all the stories are about. So when your body regenerates, even those rotator cuffs and all the ligaments, they're going to get the benefit as well. And that's as simple as it gets. And you're a great example of that, Walt.
Well, there's also, it was my other shoulder that I was working on a filter pool, and I did something. I didn't know what the heck it was, and I went into the urgent care. I went to see the doctor and with the x-rays about having the arthritis, and I said to him that I had no pain or nothing. So anyway, he looks at the x-rays, and he didn't say anything about the arthritis. But he said, I got no cartilage. I said, what do you mean? And he said, you wore it out. But anyway, I've been working in the pool business, I'm brushing pools and skimming and vacuuming and everything. And I don't have any pain. And I have full use of my arm, my right arm. So
with no cartilage.
No cartilage. I got no cartilage.
Holy cow! We're going to have to make you an example of just how good this JC Tonic really is.
Yeah. So, like I say, I've been working for probably 8 or 9 years now since I did that, and I have no problem at all.
Isn't that something? That is really amazing, because usually it's bone on bone with no cartilage.
Exactly. This is what my son-in-law has on his knee, and and he still won't take the tonic. So anyway, that's my story, and I hope that people will understand what I did and what I'm doing and how I'm doing, and that tonic is great. So.
Perfect, Walt. We really, really appreciate it. It's great, and it'll help a lot of people. And by the way, you probably do not know, but we had an offer that anybody who comes to the call to do the success story gets a free bottle. So in your next order, you're going to get an extra bottle free of charge.
Oh, am I?
Yeah,
wow.
Isn't that nice? Good news, huh?
Yeah, good news. I have my daughter's friend that lives with us, and she has arthritis really bad. I'm trying to get her on the call, but I'm not having any luck with it. So, yeah, she takes it, swears by it, and
Is she drinking it?
Oh, yeah, she drinks a ton of... She has been drinking now regularly since she moved up here but almost 3 years ago now.
Is she getting results with the arthritis?
Oh, yeah. She said that she couldn't make a fist when she moved in, and now she can make a fist. She works like a horse. She's really, really active, you know.
Why don't you tell her about the free bottle? Maybe that'll get her to come to the call. I know it's not that. She's probably shy, but look, let her listen to a call or two, and she'll see how easy it is, because those stories are helpful for other people. That's the reason we do them.
Yeah, I know.
And every story like hers is important to help someone else. So tell her, it's pay it forward, save a life, help out. If she's had the benefit the way you're telling me she has, just like you have, then it's important to pay it forward and help other people. So ask her if she would do it. I'd appreciate it. But do talk to her while it's fresh, and have her listen to last week's call at least, and get a flavor, and she'll see that it's fun, it's easy, and it'll be easy for her to do. So if she can, it would be great to help out. She can dial in, or you can send her your email and let her listen to it on her computer, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, she lives with you, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just turn on your computer, and it won't be your call, but it'll be the one from last week, which was also a good one, and let her listen so she sees what we do, and she'll probably be more relaxed about it, you know.
Yeah, okay. I'll try it anyway, so thank you.
That's it. You try, do the best you can. Thanks a lot, Walt. It was great to have you. We appreciate it.
Okay, very good. Thanks a lot.
Okay, and happy birthday again.
Okay, same for you too.
Thanks a lot. Okay, now. Bye for now. So what can I say? There's nothing to say, folks. Listen to that. 83, he's still working a pool business, bending down, brushing, sweeping. But you know, as he was telling that story, I just realized he's talking about no cartilage in a particular joint. Look, I've spoken to people with no cartilage for 50 years. They're in excruciating pain. When the bone is rubbing on the bone, there is no way you can get by unless you drug yourself out. And that made me think of a lady that asked me about that very thing about maybe 20 years ago. She called and she said, look, my husband has been diagnosed. He's got excruciating pain in his back. And they determined that he has no more cartilage left along the spinal channel. I said, how does he live? She said, with great deal of difficulty. I said, what's to do? They said, well, they have some kind of a new thing that they've got some synthetic kind of cartilage, and we're scheduled to have him operated and give it a try. I said, when's the operation? I think she said in 3 or 4 months. I said, if you get him on the JC Tonic and get him up to 3 to 4 ounces a day, you may have the surprise of your life. So she did that, and he drank, and he seemed to be feeling a little bit better, but not well enough, and went to the operation. So it was supposed to be a 6-hour operation, and the lady's waiting in the waiting room just outside of the operating, and the doctor comes out an hour later. And she jumped up. She said, what's wrong? He said, well, I got some news to tell you. She thought he died or something. He said, look, we opened up the area there, and there's cartilage growing. So we sewed him back up. We sewed him back up. Isn't that something? This, folks, is what is so important to understand about your body, the human body. It is incredible what it is capable of doing. These are some examples of what a healthy body can do, not a non-healthy body. And everybody's body starts to get in lesser and lesser health as we grow older. So we just say, well, I'm growing older, and I have this problem and that problem. And the doctors do the best they can, but they don't have cures, actually. They have something to relieve it, to put it back in balance, force the blood pressure down, force the sugar levels down. but nothing to keep it down. So you stay on the drug for 30 years. And they say, well, we're living longer. Well, yes, we are, because those drugs are keeping people living longer. But in some cases, the way people are living, I don't know. I think I'd maybe rather be in the pine box than live like that. Well, our next guest was in that situation. The doctors told him that's basically it. He's a veteran, and of course administered by the Veteran Affairs Association and the VA hospitals, which, the government spends money on the best, so the best doctor, the best everything. And still, they said he doesn't have much hope left. So let me invite our next guest. This is Bob and Kerie Jo. They are really people who, my golly, it's a miracle, okay? So hold on a second here and get them on. Is that you, Kerie Jo?
We're here.
You're there, my good Lord. Holy cow. Everybody, this is Kerie Jo and her husband, Bob. You know what? You have to tell everybody, Bob, just in what bad shape you were when Esther first got you the tonic.
Well, I'm going to start because, to be honest, Bob has very little recollection of his most difficult times health-wise. And
I'll kick in what I remember, and I can take it from there.
Yes. So back in 2015, he was diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver, stage 2 kidney disease, insulin-dependent diabetic, and early onset dementia. He really started to feel the brunt of these illnesses, I would say 3 years ago. We've been in and out of the hospital, as many of our friends and family can attest to. They saw the decline of his health. And then we were not only in and out of the hospital, we were in and out of a nursing home, because he is 6'4", I am 5'1", so it's, as his sole health care giver or provider, I was having difficulty moving him. He was having difficulty doing anything on his own. He got to a point where he was so ill, he could not hold a conversation. He could not read a clock. He was an avid reader. He wasn't doing any reading. I was doing most of his representation at the doctor's office and in the hospital, because he could not speak for himself. He could not even say what was wrong with him. So all his diagnosis came via medical and lab reports and sonograms and CAT scans and all of this. And we had been going through this for quite some time, and I've kept friends and family updated on Facebook, as most of us do, on his condition. And about a year ago in November, the VA sent us to Harlingen to get approval for an electric wheelchair, because I was having great difficulty with the regular wheelchair, lifting it and all of that entailed. They gave us a pretty bleak outlook. Bob wasn't absorbing any of this, but they basically told me with his cirrhosis, as it got worse, he would decline mentally, because when your ammonia levels are high in the blood, it does affect your mentation. It would just be like he may not even be able to drive himself use the joystick to maneuver around in the electric wheelchair. So they put a joystick on the back so I could help him do that on the days that he was cognitively able to do it himself. Another thing that happened that month, November of last year, was my aunt had been following our stories on Facebook, and she reached out to me and she said, I've been reading about your husband and I wanted to gift you a bottle of this tonic that I've been taking myself for 30 years. And it's helped keep me healthy. I don't even take an aspirin, and I can tell you that my aunt, I'll be 53 tomorrow, and I can tell you my aunt just turned 70 and she can run circles around me. It's no joke. But she did gift us a bottle of tonic, and I got Bob to start taking it. We did not change any of his medications that he was on, by the way, 21 medications. We just added the tonic to the mix. I did the research, of course, and just made the decision to give it a try. What can it hurt? And I was really inspired by seeing my aunt and how young and happy and active that she is. And then seeing my husband at 53, 54, 52, can't even, hold a conversation. So we gave it a try. And the one thing that I can say initially that we first noticed was his mentation. getting better. He was always very quiet during this time when he wasn't able to really absorb what was going on around him. He thought he was still in active duty on a ship. He thought I was supposed to stand duty. It was really crazy how bad it got. But luckily, when we started him on the tonic, he had just had blood work done. Like I mentioned, he is insulin dependent. His A1C was at 10, which if we have any diabetics on here listening, you know that's very high. You know what I'm talking about. And 3 months later, and this is taking the tonic every day, I got to stress, it does not do you any good sitting on your counter. You have got to take it every day. And my husband did. And he eventually started getting better. He wanted to start doing his own testing for his glucose. He started injecting himself. He started reading again, conversing, having his own opinion, which I might not always want, but I'm so glad to have it after so long. And we just saw him improving, you know, just from what we see physically. When we went to the doctor 3 months later and got a repeat blood work, which we do every 3 months with the VA, the doctor was shocked because his A1C had gone from 10 to 6.7 in a matter of 3 months. And we told him about the tonic, and he's like, well, it's not hurting, still with a little skepticism. He said to keep taking it, which my husband has been on it for 1 year in November, 1 year, 1 month, now December. I can tell you that over the course of the year, everything has improved all around. He's mobile. That electric wheelchair is parked in the closet, and we refuse to get it out. We took the ramp off our truck. He's stronger every day. He is doing all of the driving. He is physically doing so well. He also had chronic lung disease. He had pneumonia 6 times in 2018 and 2019 combined, mid to mid-year. And when we physically went to go see his pulmonologist, who was telling us how bad my husband was in the beginning of this journey from the hospital, and we went to go visit him, I want to say about 3 months ago, my husband walked in the office, and when we were waiting to be seen, and when he walked in the room, my husband stood up, and when a man of 6'4" stands up in your face, you're taken aback, especially if you're not that tall. And he's like, hey, Doc, how are you doing? He reached his hand to shake his hand, and he just started backing away to the door. He's like, are y'all playing a joke on me? Does he have a twin? And Bob said, no, it's me. I'm doing great. And he's like, I just cannot believe it. I cannot believe from the last time I saw you to right now, I just can't believe it. Long story short, we don't have to see him for another 9 months. And that's one of the things that you know when you're super ill. You have regular doctor's appointments, and it seems like our doctor's appointments are being spaced out. Okay, instead of seeing you in 2 weeks, we'll see you in a month. Instead of a month, we're going to 2 months. And then now we're going to 6 and 9 months. We won't see the pulmonologist for another 9 months. So those are all very encouraging things. And I won't take too much more of the time, but I think people through our picture journal.
Take the time.
Following our journey, it's just amazing to see how much he has improved. His personal physician at the VA has just said, well, I'm looking at you like I just can't even believe I'm talking to you, because he's never held a conversation with any of his doctors. They've only seen him with his head down and struggling to even pay attention to what's going on. And so to see him the way he is now, it's just been a remarkable thing. And all of his doctors, he has a kidney specialist, he has a lung specialist, he has a liver specialist, and they all know that he's been taking the tonic, and they're all on board with it because they've seen the blood work. The blood work doesn't lie. And most recently, we saw the liver specialist. Now, we had seen her originally for the first time in about 2 months ago. And we had gotten some blood work in that was done by the VA. They always send you a printout, and they say, these are your numbers. This is what's normal. This is what your numbers are. And you can see where it says high or low or whatever. And for the lipid panel, which has to do with the liver, all his normal numbers were in normal ranges. So I had that with me when we went to go see the liver specialist. And once she started talking to us about the function of the liver and what to expect and all of this stuff, and I said, have you looked at his blood work? And she said, yes. And I said, to you, does he have or does he not have cirrhosis? Because I'm looking at these numbers and they look normal to me. And she said, first of all, he came to us with that diagnosis from another doctor. So I'm here to treat it. But I'm going to run all my own tests, and I'm going to compare them to the paperwork from the VA, and then we'll go from there. So last week was our follow-up appointment to get the results of, they took maybe 7 or 8 vials of blood. Very, very thorough testing she did for him. And she said that his kidneys were functioning normal, so he does not have chronic kidney disease anymore. She said his liver panel came out normal. And I reposed the question to her again. And I said, so based on what you see, and this is your patient now, does he have cirrhosis? And she said, from what I can see and the blood work that I've run, now I know his history because I've seen what the VA sent me, but his blood panel today, I would not diagnose him as having cirrhosis. He may have had a really sick liver. It may have mimicked it, but I don't know. There is scarring that defines cirrhosis that she's not seeing anymore, which other doctors saw when he was actually in the hospital. And she said he does not have cirrhosis. And I can tell you when we walked out of the doctor's office, I wanted to jump out of my skin, call everybody I knew. And I just felt like we had this dark cloud over us. Yes, he's getting better. Yes, he's doing all these things. But cirrhosis, there's no backing away from that one. And I'm not saying making claims of curing or anything like that, because I know there's liabilities with that. But I do want to share our story because I can see, and the people around us have seen, a remarkable change in his health. He feels it. He's energetic. 1 year ago, this past November, I was told he had 1, maybe 2 years to live. We're 1 year out from that from now, and we're not looking at the grave. We're not under a dark cloud. Again, I cannot emphasize enough that the tonic has to be in your body to work. It's not good sitting on your bedside, good sitting on the counter. It's not going to do its job if you don't take it. And you can't just take it here and there. Oh, I forgot this. Set a reminder on your phone. We have so much technology, there's no excuse for you to miss a dose. My husband does it religiously, and he takes it every morning before breakfast. And I began to take it myself, even though I don't have any of the comorbidities that he does. I can also tell you, Anthony was speaking about COVID earlier. Our son who lives with us contracted COVID earlier in the year, and being in the same household, being on the tonic, my husband, with all his comorbidities, still, he and I have not contracted COVID, even living in the house with someone who did have it. Of course, we did follow all the CDC recommendations, but we also built up our immune systems with the tonic. And so I think that that's something that other people, I've talked to friends and family that are struggling with, health issues. And, I've shared the tonic with a friend of mine, Donovan, who's listening now, I'm sure. He was having kidney stones, and he could barely stretch from one side to the other. He started taking the tonic. He's been doing well. He hasn't had any problem with it. Our own personal experience has just been so positive. I'm going to pass the phone on over to Bob right now. And when you're listening to him, I just want you to think of one thing. This man laying in bed, being handed pills in a hospital, not knowing what they are, couldn't make a medical decision for himself, hold a conversation, or really absorb what someone was trying to say to him. He looked to me for all the answers. And I'm going to introduce you to him now because I think he can tell you better what he feels has changed for him on the day-to-day being on this tonic for 1 year.
Well, thank you, honey. Well, first of all, it's nice to be along with living. The first thing that I start feeling this is at the end of my career. I did 26 years in the Navy, and I had this habit of just passing out. I mean, I was feeling fine, walking around, doing all the stuff that Navy people do, and I would just pass out. And the Navy doctors couldn't figure it out. Well, then it came out that I had hypertension. I was at 170 over 90, and it was getting worse and worse. They gave me the high blood pressure pills. They tried test after test. But then it was the end of my career, and it says, well, the VA will take care of you. Well, come to the VA, and it says, well, your blood is toxic. Toxic with what? Well, they did test and test and test. And to come to find out, I was diabetic. So now I'm insulin dependent. And then little by little, I start forgetting things. And Lord and behold, I didn't know who I was, where I was at. I don't know, I was in Texas, Corpus Christi. I thought I was still in the Navy, underway, on duty. I didn't even recognize my wife. And my back needed surgery really bad. I could not walk. I could not make decisions. I didn't even know I had a vehicle to drive in. I just didn't know who I was. I didn't know my last name. And then last November, a year ago, I was in a nursing home. I had no idea where I was at. And then my wife, in with the medication, she threw in this tonic without my knowledge. And 3 months later, where I needed the back surgery, and they told her that if I was going to go on the table, that I would die on the table. Well, I didn't know. And then little by little, I was getting out of this fog. Like, where am I? What's going on? And little by little, the fog lifted. And it was weird. It was like coming out of a horror dream. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Couldn't walk. I was about to go to surgery. And then little by little, I was waking up. And that's when she told me I was taking the tonic. And I was like, no way. I don't believe that. But then I did more talking with her, and I'm a true believer. I take that stuff every single morning with my coffee. I don't forget it, not for one time. And here I am today. I'm driving. I'm going grocery shopping. I'm doing everything right. So
with the mask.
With the mask. and I truly believe it. And to me, it's a true miracle.
Bob, this is Anthony, and I'm happy and honored to finally talk with you. Folks, I have never spoken to Bob before because he was in the recuperation mode over all this year. And we just got the reports from Kerie Jo, and she told us, as a matter of fact, she sent me a brand new one that she posted on her Facebook page. This is a downright miracle. If you saw the list of the drugs he was taking, you would fall on the floor just reading those drugs. How his body was upside down, and he couldn't sleep in a proper bed, and he was in a wheelchair. And holy Toledo! I would have loved to have a picture of a video of the doctor when you walked into the office, Bob.
It was hilarious.
Oh, God, he must have almost had a heart attack himself.
We have other pictures if you want it.
Oh, God, yeah, we do. I mean, holy cow.
I do have to say that his liver doctor, when we first saw her, when she took all those vials of blood, I did tell her that he's been on a tonic since November, and I had taken the bottle with me, and she asked me for it, and she went back in her office, and she went and looked up the website, which is what I told her to do. And several of his doctors have done that, and they're like, okay, I have here that you're on a tonic. Like, everybody asks us about that because I have it listed along his medications. And so several of the doctors have been really, really impressed with the change in his numbers, and they're like, okay, I'm going to go check this out. Hold on. And she came back and she said, I've looked at everything that is in this, and I don't have a problem with it. It's obviously making a change for you. I'm not going to tell you to not take it. You're doing well. Keep doing what you're doing is what we were told by the liver specialist. And just this Friday, my son, who has his kidneys, he has chronic kidney disease, and he has a sick heart, functioning at 25%. His kidneys as well at 25%. And he's seen his kidney doctor for the last, it's been over 6 months. And at first it was so bad they were seeing him every 2 weeks. We got him started on the tonic, and he takes 2 ounces a day. And he has gone from 25% functioning to 51%. We just got the word on Friday. We just got the update. And he too takes it every day. And I know somebody was saying something, the first gentleman that spoke was talking about the taste. It tastes herbal. If many of y'all have taken herbal teas, I take it a shot, and then I take a shot of coffee and forget I ever took it. But I'm telling you what, I have been more energetic. It moves through my system, and I feel like it's doing me some good too. Like I do have energy, whereas, I was worn out. Imagine being in a hospital for 2 years, the better part of 2 years in the hospital and the nursing home. It's exhausting. I never left his side, and it was just something horrid to go through at such a young age, and something you don't ever think about when you're still in your 50s that, you promise each other, I'm not going to put you in a nursing home. I won't do that. But when you can't lift your husband and he's 6'4" and you need help, I felt like I was breaking that promise to him, but I didn't leave his side. The nursing home was gracious and gave me a bed next to him and gave us our own room. And I was able to be by his side the whole time, because I couldn't even imagine being in his shoes, not knowing literally who he was, where he was, and waking up and not seeing a familiar face. So there was no way that I would have, just left him there alone. It's a scary thing to get sick. It's a scary thing to be at the mercy of somebody else. And as a caregiver, I can also say that it's very scary to have somebody else's life in your hands when they can't make decisions or do for themselves. So we have shared with as many people as we can about what it's done for us. I encourage you to get a bottle, get on it. Like I said, take it every day. In 30 days, you'll see a difference. In 60 days, you're going to be like, 90 days will stop you in your tracks, because you're going to see a difference from 90 days of a past blood work to 90 days later. You will see a difference. Whatever's ailing you. It billed as a youthful tonic. It purifies the blood. I mean, it makes common sense. If you have purified blood, or blood that's being cleansed from toxins and other stuff going through your vital organs are going to work less. They're not going to have to work as hard to do the job they were created to do. That's my take on it. It makes sense. I have living proof with me every day, and we really, really, really are so thankful that out of the blue, hearing from, when we were deployed overseas, so I hadn't seen my aunt in over 10 years, and just to hear from her out of the blue, and just like, she just wanted us to try it, and I love her and I trust her, and I thank God every day for her being in my life, because according to the doctors, I'd be a widow right now. So take that to the bank.
Holy Toledo, Kerie Jo, what a tremendous story you and Bob have, and having shared it. You talked about cirrhosis, and as you were talking about that, I recall now we actually have a letter that was written to my father in the 40s from a fellow that had cirrhosis of the liver. And he took, my dad used to sell it 4 bottles at a time, and everybody called it a treatment, so we don't call it a treatment anymore. But he said, I had 3 treatments and I didn't have cirrhosis anymore. So he drank maybe 12 bottles. I don't know, what did you drink, Bob, over this year? 12, 14 bottles, maybe a bottle a month or more?
Yes.
Yeah, 2 ounces.
He takes 2 ounces a day. And when he was at his sickest, we did pump it up to like 3 ounces.
Yeah, max.
Max. That's when he was getting sugar levels in the 300 and 500 range.
Yeah,
but then you brought it down, and you've been sort of consistent with a couple of
the highest was 700. It got to the point where my vision was so blurry, I just couldn't see. I just had to just lay there.
Yeah. He had it pretty bad. His numbers have come down. I mean, he was able to get an eye exam by a regular, optometrist, where he wasn't even allowed to get an eye exam when it's over 7. Yeah. They said over 7 on your glucose, on your A1C, your vision is changing daily, so they're not going to bother to give you a prescription. So the first thing we did when he got 6.7 on his A1C is go to the optometrist to get those glasses, because he's back to reading and all of that he used to do now, and
well, you're lucky you're with the VA and get the free glasses, because you're going to need weaker ones soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is tremendous. This is such a beautiful story. Folks, of course, as you know, we can go on with this, and Kerie Jo and Bob probably could talk for another 3 hours and still not tell us everything. I know it's time to roll, but Bob and Kerie, wrap it up for us.
Well, guys, my main point tonight was not only to share our story, but to say, I think the thing that I've seen most, because I have done, as you recommended, pay it forward. My aunt gave us a bottle. I've given bottles away myself. The best advice I can tell you is put it in your budget. Some people think, oh, it's too much, I can't afford it. But can you really afford to be sick? It costs money to be in a hospital every day and eat your lunch at the cafeteria. I was spending almost $15 a day on just snacks and one full meal. You can't afford to be sick these days.
Kerie Jo, that's such an important point, and people just do not realize it until you bring it up, because they don't think that they have to drive to the hospital, they have to wait in line, they're spending the time at the doctor's office waiting for 3 hours when they could be doing something else or working or earning some money. The gas of the car, all those things add up to be an expense that, you're right, if people drank this, it would be the least expensive health insurance in the world.
Yeah. Exactly. And like I said earlier, and I'll say it one more time, you have the bottle in your possession. It doesn't do you any good sitting there. You have to take it every day to see the kind of changes that we saw. And it's undeniable. You see my husband walking around. People see him, they're like, what? I posted pictures of him in the hospital with oxygen. And I can tell you that many friends and family have talked to me on a personal basis, reached out to me. And I know when I'm posting these stories about my husband and his condition, and here we go to the emergency room again, here we are in the nursing home again, here back and forth and back. It was our life for the better part of 2.5 years. And I know that when I would post things like this, people, in fact, his brother came around and saw him, and he just walked in the room, saw him, and walked right back out. And he was just in the hallway crying. He said, I know I'm never going to see my brother alive again. He doesn't live in our state, but he made that statement. And when I think about him saying that, and to see where my husband is now, he looks healthy. He has color to his skin, very handsome, I must say. And he looks younger, and he's with it. Our grandkids have noticed, I have my granddaughter ask him about a month ago. She was riding in our truck. He was driving, and she said, she's 5 years old, and she said, Popo, remember when you used to ride around in the wheelchair and you couldn't walk? Like, she even observed it. Like, yes, she remembers that very clearly. Our grandchildren missed out on him. They only saw us in the hospital, at a very impressive age. And now that, he can pick her up and play with her, and, we play games and we do all of that. This is a part of life that we missed out on for the last few years. And we're just taking it all in, enjoying it, and not having that dark cloud of pending doom that I was told to expect. It's been the complete opposite. Bob's body has really responded well to the tonic. I have the documentation to back up everything that I've said. One of the things that I did in the beginning of the journey, and I kept it through until we left the nursing home for the last time, was I journaled every single day that he was in the hospital, every pill he took, every nurse that saw him, things, because you forget. And, you know, when I go back and look at the things I wrote, because I would write, you know, he had this happen today, or he thought he was in Washington, or he thought he was in Norfolk, or he had, you know, he has suffered really bad from PTSD. He had a really bad episode where he had to be literally sedated because of all the different medications that were pumping in him. He was, you know, just freaking out. You know, imagine, you know, getting a little bit of consciousness and you're looking around a bunch of strangers over your bed and, you know, it's fight or flight. This guy fought. It even got so bad that we had an incident, you know, where he was, you know, screaming and yelling, and they had to call security. And we had security in our room for at least 2 weeks before they realized, like, that was just a bad PTSD episode. And he is not a violent person, nor has he ever been. He was just in fight or flight mode. And he's not really had any PTSD episodes for quite some time now. He's sleeping through the night. It's just, if you would have told me this a year ago after getting the news from the doctors, I would not have believed it. I would have not believed it. I would have been happy pushing my husband around in the wheelchair or taking him wherever he needed to go. It takes forever to load a patient in and out of the truck, up and down the ramps, and parking at the doctor's office. It's just a whole nightmare. And you never realize or put too much thought into it till it happens to you, and you're the one on the giving end of the caregiving, and it's hard. But again, he's made a complete turnaround. I continue to encourage people to take it, take the tonic, let it do it.
Even my old shipmates are asking for it tonight. One of my shipmates from Arizona is asking for it. It's like, Bob, what are you on? Let me in on it.
Yes.
They're in their 50s, and they're the way that I used to be.
Yeah. And so, you know, basically people have seen, I feel like when I was posting all these stories, people are thinking this guy's not going to last very long, thinking I'm going to be a widow, you know, in my 50s, which nobody wants to think about. But if you don't take care of yourself, these are the realities. You're going to have things that are inherited, like, you know, my son's high blood pressure. It runs in the family. It's something they all deal with. But if you can start treating these ailments and, you know, one by one, getting better, I don't know how else to tell you other than look at my husband, look at what we've been through. The only thing that we have changed is adding the tonic to the mix. And now I can happily say that with our last doctor's appointment, his primary care and his liver doctor have both talked about peeling away medications. Now we're at that point. The amount of insulin has been cut in more than half that he has to take. They have reduced the amount of the liver pills, everything. Everything has been reduced. And so now they're going to start peeling away one medication at a time to see how he does. And I hope to be able to report, you know, that he continues to do well with just the tonic.
Oh, wow. Gee, what a saga. Wow. Kerie Jo, this is tremendous. This is going to help tens of thousands of people. The more people that listen to this story. So when we send this out at the first of the week in an email, folks, forward it to every single soul you need. You know, there are so many things that are covered in just this story of Kerie Jo and Bob. I mean, look at all the different health issues that have been ameliorated, and holy cow, you know how many people you could help? Half of the country. Wow, thank you very, very much, Bob and Kerie Jo and Bob. Good to see you back living again.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you out there just running the 4-minute mile and all the rest of the good stuff. Yeah, keep doing what you're doing. It looks like you may.
Yeah, I made it.
So, folks on the call, it's been well worth your time, I know. And use this for all it's worth because, as you see, it comes from their hearts and it's totally up and up. It's totally true. There was no. I just heard these reports coming in one after the other, and I was amazed myself. Although I heard all these stories individually and twos and threes over 50 years of listening to stories, but all of this in one man, in one body, and oh my good Lord, what a wonderful, wonderful way to end the Sunday evening. Thanks again, Kerie Jo and Bob, very much for coming on and telling your story.
You're very welcome.
Anytime.
Thanks, everybody, and see you next Sunday. And don't forget, take an ounce and feel the bounce. Good night.
Good night.
All. Night.